The gentleman, Mr. Huelskamp, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question would be for Mr. Kobach. There have been news reports that indicated in the last week of October that customers or clients that requested the return of their funds and accounts were mailed paper checks. The dollars were subtracted out of their account, and when they went to cash in the checks at the bank, are those treated any differently? What are we doing to track this down? Because that, to me, demonstrates clear intent, at least a week before the bankruptcy, to withhold funds.
We found out about that situation. The accounts didn't, the accounts reflected that the money went out, even though the accounts bounced. So we've, in this third transfer, assuming the court approves it, we're going to include them. They're approximately $57 million worth of bounced checks that we know about. I think that's the universe, and they should all get the 69 to 70% of that. It was unfortunate that we couldn't include them in the earlier transfers.
Okay. And I dare say, before going further, producers always thought the risk they faced was in the market rather than the firm that was handling their dollars, and certainly have caught a number of my constituents. I have a question for Ms. Summers, if I might. I'm looking at the first question. What is a statement of non-participation versus recusal? Is that the same thing, Ms. Summers?
Congressman, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, the letter that Mr. Gensler sent out does not mention recusal at all. It mentions non-participation. Can you further describe, as being a fellow commissioner, CFTC, what exactly that is versus recusal?
I wouldn't know the differences between the two. I will say that the CFTC doesn't have a specific policy dealing with recusal. We follow the Office of Government Ethics regs on that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the comments of Mr. Sussman suggesting that would be a great question if we could hear from Mr. Gensler at a later time. But again, it's been noted in here that Mr. Gensler was forced by a senator, but that makes no notice of that in a statement of non-participation. But again, I will note that he participated in numerous calls and interactions, activities with MF Global after the bankruptcy. Has he indicated to you or other members of the staff of CFTC why suddenly he decided, after he'd already participated after the fact in multiple negotiations?
He has not discussed the particulars of his recusal with me, sir, but that's his personal decision.
Yeah. Thank you. And I wish you would share with the other commissioners that obviously, if you were unaware of that, looks rather suspect and reflects poorly on him as a chairman of the commission to invent something such as a statement of non-participation, which no one seems to know what it is other than he's already participated. And other question I would have, on July 20th, which was the one-year anniversary and the then deadline for the Dodd-Frank requirements, there were 4 conference calls, and I believe you participated in one with MF Global. I think, and could you describe what occurred in those conference calls?
I don't believe I participated in a conference call with MF Global in July.
You are correct. I'm sorry. That was in December. I know there were 4 conference calls. I apologize. I had the wrong date on that.
In December of 2010, I had a meeting in my office with MF Global.
Mm-hmm. Was John Corzine in on that meeting? And were there notes kept of this particular meeting?
Perhaps. I don't recall whether I took notes. It was approximately 15-minute meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd ask if you would provide those to the committee. Is it normal that meetings such as this, there may not be notes taken and no one outside the room will know what occurred inside this?
My staff was in the meeting with me. Mr. Corzine had staff with him as well, but if no real substantive issues were discussed, it is not uncommon to have a meeting where there are no notes taken.
Well, it indicates you discussed segregation and bankruptcy with MF Global on 12/21/2010. I would think that would be a particularly important subject as we continue here But one other item as far as Mr. Gensler's meetings with Mr. Corzine, which one did occur on July 20th. Do we have notes of what they discussed? And I think this is very strange. I was unaware today until today that Mr. Gensler actually used to work for Mr. Corzine at Goldman Sachs, and seems very suspect, certainly my constituents. So if I might have an answer to that question.
I can pass that on. I don't know if there are.
We do not know if there are any notes of this closed-door meeting.
To Mr. Gensler's meeting, I do not know if there are notes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen.